The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the ProclaimCRM virtual tour for March 26, 2014. Our agenda for this afternoon, we'll cover a few housekeeping issues, do some introductions. We're going to spend by far the majority of our time taking a look at a live demonstration of ProclaimCRM, and we'll have a Q&A at the end. We'll also intersperse some breaks to ask Q&A as we go through the hour. You should have a GoToWebinar toolbar, and if you have any questions at all, go ahead and type them in the question pane, and we will collect those and address them throughout the presentation. Also, if you have any audio or visual problems at all, submit them there as well, and we will have someone help you right away. My name is George Delp. I'm the Director of Sales for ProclaimCRM. I have experience working with small local churches and large top 5, top 10 mega churches. Joining me this afternoon is Alan Camp, who's our Inside Sales Manager, so he'll be helping field the questions and making sure everyone has a quality experience. You want to say hi, Alan?
Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning if you're on the West Coast.
Thank you. So I get this question all the time. Why ProclaimCRM? What makes you guys so great? And before I provide any kind of answer, that's actually impossible to answer without understanding more about who's asking the question. So usually I shoot back with, well, tell me a little bit about your situation, about your church, etc. But some common themes I have seen, though, is there's no software out there that's going to do 100% of what you want. That's just, I venture to say that's almost impossible. But, you're doing good if you find something that might meet 70 to 80% of your needs. Maybe 90 if your needs aren't that broad. So what we like to focus on is how you address the final 20 or 30%, or how you bridge the gap. And Proclaim, what I'm going to show you today, I'll show you our customization, reporting, and integration capabilities that allow you to get that last 20 or 30%. ProclaimCRM has several different components. Most of the components are designed for church staff. That would be ProclaimCRM, that's the main people database. Mobile Express, which lets you access things from a smartphone. Check Scan, that's used for recording contributions. That's a separate application and works with MagTech hardware. There's a headquarters module that we're not going to look at that or the care center today. Those are specialized modules. Headquarters is like for a denomination office or a church planning organization. The care center is more for like a food pantry or help type center place. It helps with the vetting and scheduling, of care center recipients and scheduling of services and such. So for church members, we'll look at the member portal, and that's where people do online giving, sign up for events, manage small groups, stuff like that. And then also, I put a check-in down there because check-in is usually used by, majority of members are using the check-in application, which then sends attendance records to ProclaimCRM. So before we get started, Alan, are we good? Is anyone having any audio or visual problems or any questions?
George, it looks like we're off to a good start today. Let's go.
Okay. Now, I've trimmed back some of this introductory part so we have more time at the end. So ProclaimCRM, it's easy to use. So I'm going to do a couple slides first. It's an easy-to-use application, and it looks like this when you log in. So you just do a URL, save it as a favorite, and you have a ribbon at the top. The main section is where your information is displayed. It could be forms, lists, or in this case, there's a dashboard with graphs. And then your menu's on the left. So that's what this shows here: command ribbon, navigation menu, and information display panel. So in this case, we're showing a people or a person form with our good buddy Bradley. You're going to get to know Bradley really well by the end of the day or the end of the hour. Now, it's a web-based solution. It supports multiple browsers. You can use your Safari on a Mac. You can use Chrome, Internet Explorer on Windows, and Firefox. Most people use either Safari, IE, or Chrome, though, we're finding. And these ribbons change at the top. All these column headers, you can, A to Z, Z to A, 1 to 9, 9 to 0, etc. You can navigate, lists by clicking on letters. There's a quick search box here that you just type in what you're looking for, and it'll show up. If I'm on families, I can type a family name. It'll have show everyone who has that. If I'm looking for contributions, I could type an amount or a fund name, you name it. So it's real easy to search for stuff. A neat thing, you can also add additional quick search fields to relate it to an entity. Like let's say you wanted to search by phone number, and out of the box it wasn't searching by phone number. You could add phone number to the quick find fields, and then type in phone numbers and find people. So neat stuff, and that's what it looks like at a high level. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to start with person and family records. So when I show you the person form, don't be scared. There's a lot of fields on it. I'm going to show you with everything turned on. But what most people do is they only use the fields that they need, or they add some custom fields of their own too. So it's very customizable, and we'll teach you how to do that. You don't need to pay us to hide fields or add fields, stuff like that. A couple of notes I want to point out. You get this question a lot. People can be members of multiple families. When Junior gets married or grows up and gets married, he can still have a relationship with his parents, who are, will probably become grandparents soon. And some of these other things I just want to show you, so we'll show you these on the actual people form. So let's go here, we'll go to our menu, and we click on people. Here's my list of people. And Bradley's first, but you see I can just type Brad, and boom, I only got one guy that has the B-R-A-D in his name. So we'll double click on Brad, and you can see the menu changed up here again. Lots of fields, you can turn these on or off, as I said. Pay attention to this one here. So this membership status field, I'm going to use this a little bit later in a workflow and a dashboard. So one thing I want to point out is we have this paper clip. This means that there's notes at the bottom of the screen. If the no paper clip, no manual notes. Now notes are not the same thing as activities like tasks and phone calls, but if we click on this, it scrolls us down. And this is where you can just enter ad hoc notes, type text. You can also attach files. So every record type in ProclaimCRM has this little notes section. And you can add notes, attach files, attach multiple files. So here is I attached a graphics file. And it stores all this information straight in your database. So it's not like linking out to a directory structure or anything. So some other nice things we have here, actually the alert bar went away. There's an alert bar that pops up. They all expired. That pops up, and you can do things like warnings. The alert bar came into play from the Care Center application where people kept walking off with the pagers. So here you can do and they have all ended. You can do a system alert. You can manually add them. So you can make as many as you want. If I wanted to do a new one, I could do a new one. But let's say they just had a baby, and we want everyone who pulls up the record to know the good news. So we'll say we can make that one last for a month or so. We'll save and close. And now when we refresh the screen, you'll see there's an alert at the top. So and there can be multiple alerts. If there was, it would say see more. So just neat thing there. Now these can be scheduled by workflows too. So for example, you can do personal dates on a person record. So this is where baptisms, anniversaries, marriages, and again, it's just like adding an alert. You add a new personal date. If the personal date that you want doesn't exist, you can add a new one. So real easy as well. And what's nice about having these things all be separate records like that is it makes it real easy to do reporting on it. So instead of looking at personal dates from people, I can go to the main menu and look at all of the personal dates in the system. And let's say I wanted to, you can do filters. So any view you're looking at, you do hit the filter button, and this pops up. And you can then filter by a specific type of data. Like if I just wanted to see a list of everyone who had First Communion, boom, filter by specific type. So my Catholic roots might show up here and there as we go through this. Back to the main person forms. So another thing I wanted to show you, there's built-in address verification. We integrate with a service from Smarty Streets. It's free for not-for-profits and churches. We also support ABS in Canada, but there's nothing free up there, so you do have to sign up for a service there. Now this family grid, this makes it real easy to enter a family. So if I was going to enter a new, let's say I had a connection card with new family information, enter your first name, your last name, your phone number, address. little button will pop up if it's new, prompting you to check it, and then you'll have it AVS verified. Then you can easily add the family members. So you just say add a new person, type in name, first name, birth date, gender, and relationship. Now what's nice about this is these relationships are smart. So if I open up Deborah, well, actually let's open up Jerry, and you'll see Jerry's going to be a cute little guy there, a little green tie thing. But here you can see on his family grid, he has his two parents, and then Marjorie was set up as a sibling. So it's smart when it sets this up. So doing this, you set up the whole family just by entering this one person record, and then it will also create the family record and populate addresses and all that other good stuff. Now these relationships, in addition to basic family type relationships, you can also go down to the social section and look at connections. And you can have multiple relationships with other people. So if someone comes out of a family, but you still wanted to maintain a parent relationship or such, you can do that here, or you can have friends or colleagues or coworkers. So you just connect people. So on here I could connect Bradley to myself, or I could connect him to someone else. And you pick whoever you want to connect him to. Connect him to this guy, Alan, and then you have all these choices for roles. So really, you can weave a pretty complex web. It's useful for understanding the relationships of the people in your church with each other. Personal dates, audit trails. So let's take a look at background checks and audit trails. So audit trails, when we work with churches, we find a lot of times there might be volunteers or high turnover in certain data entry type positions. So audit trails come in real handy in case mistakes are made, because mistakes are going to be made. And so if we go down here to history, we can look at, there's also full address history when you give someone a new address. But here you can see who changed what. So here I changed the membership status field, and I changed it today at 2:07 p.m. Eastern, and I changed it from first-time visitor to prospective member. So if anyone ever does make a mistake, not only can you blame them with evidence, I kid, but you can actually fix it to go back to the old value. There's also some system administrator level audit tools that are even more powerful that help with things like accidental deletions and stuff like that. Although best practice is you deactivate records and don't delete them. Don't give people delete rights. Let them just deactivate things. That way it's less likely to make a mistake. You can filter this too. So, boom, I just want to see all the changes to city. There they are. Change Charlotte to Charlotte. Now, let's change this. I'm going to change this back to first-time visitor because that's going to fire up a workflow and save that record. And that'll come in handy in a little bit. So anyways, that's person records. The family record, if we go to family, you can have a separate picture for the family. And it's basically, information's pretty similar. Most of the information that we do is captured at the person level, and then people are grouped up to families. But we do have this connector record in there. And all these different sections, you can expand them, make them smaller, and you can set options on, they open up, large or small. So lots of flexibility and power. Alan, how are we with questions?
We have no questions at this point, George.
All right. Well, next up, we're going to go to activities. And activities are very related to the people records that we were just looking at. Now, these are different from the notes that I showed you. But activities track your interactions with your members, like appointments or phone calls or emails you send them. And activities they're either open, which means they're pending, or they're completed, which means they've been done. So let's take a quick look at an activity. So I'm on Bradley, and if I click on activities, these are all of the open activities for Bradley. And again, you can hit your filter button and filter by activity type, which can be kind of cool if you just want to see things. That's actually pretty neat on the history. You can filter by activity type and date ranges. But here, all these phone calls, that workflow I was talking about, they schedule phone calls. That's why I have so many. And likewise, here's all the activities that have been completed. Now, what we are looking at specifically, these are all of the activities, regardless of who they're assigned to, that are for Bradley Adams. Now, if I go to my work and activities, These are all of the activities that are assigned to me regardless of who they're for. It's just coincidental I have so many for Bradley, but then here's one, a phone call for Deborah. So, one-way slices, one-way dices. And you can actually make views. These are my activities, but I could do a view and set it up to be someone else's past activities, or let's say my buddy Alan. I could look at Alan's past due activities and then help him out when he gets behind schedule. So since I'm that type of person, right, Alan?
Absolutely.
Anyways, let's take a look at one of these. So I'll just double click on the phone call, and you can see there's a sender, a recipient, a phone number, direction, subject. You can type text in here and then save it, complete it. Let's say I talk to him, I mark it complete. Boom, that's done, and now that call has gone from activities to closed activities. Adding activities is real easy. You just hit the Add New Activity button. You can add all these types. And one thing I want to point out is you can create custom activity types. So those are real cool. Like, they're all going to have some semblance of a date, an assignment, and stuff like that. But like the task here, it's like basically the phone call form, but with less fields. But you could do things like hospital visits or prayer requests or lots of, anything you wanted to track. And when you make a custom activity type, it helps for filtering because then you can filter by that custom activity type. Queues make it easy to use shared activity management. So let's say you scheduled a bunch of phone calls. Let's say every time you enter a new person record from a connection card, you schedule a phone call. Well, instead of scheduling a phone call for a person, you can schedule it to a queue. And then, instead of looking at my activities, you look at a queue, and then you take the next activity in the queue, then it becomes yours to follow up on. So that's activities. Very useful. Very, very useful. Questions, Alan?
You're actually about to get into answering this one question that has come in. Does the program allow sharing to other programs such as Outlook?
Yes. ProclaimCRM is built on Microsoft CRM, so it's definitely Microsofty, for lack of a better word. And we have really tight Outlook integration. I'll show you a couple things that we do have here. So what it does, and this is for tasks, appointments, and this is a screenshot from email, but we added bar. So you can do an email straight in Outlook and hit the Set Regarding button, and then you could select a list of your people, and all without going into ProclaimCRM. You just send an email, and it'll show up as a completed activity. You can also sync things two-way. Like you could create a task in Proclaim and have that you could do custom mappings and filters, but out-of-the-box tasks and appointments will show up in your Outlook calendar or your Outlook task list. So I could go to Bradley, assign myself a new task, and then that'll show up in my Outlook. If I don't even have my Outlook open. It'll show up in my Outlook task list. So when you're looking at Outlook, you click on your, here's my list of tasks, all the things that I have to do, got a couple past due items, and appointments will show up as well. So it's tightly integrated. So actually, while I'm here, I will show you another thing. You can actually load solutions, and I don't have Proclaim loaded right now. This is just my regular CRM, but it works the same way. So I can have all my Proclaim folders in Outlook as well. So instead of accounts and contacts, which yours would look like, would say people and families and groups and contributions, and that way you can view, like here, this is a list of businesses in our company CRM database, and you'd have a list of people. The contacts looks real similar, so a full name and such. So it's not just linked with Outlook; it's pretty fully integrated with Outlook, and I could go on and on about this. If it's something you want to talk more about, we can obviously do that. But it's pretty tight. I do emails all the time and tag them that way. Now, I don't have Outlook, you say. It sounds like some of you might. Well, Microsoft in 2013 set aside a whole lot of money for not-for-profits, and churches are included in that, where they're making donations or making a really, really low cost of all of these different products, which include Office and email and a whole bunch of other stuff. Now, if you want to learn more about that, go to this link, and you can walk through a few screens that'll tell you if you might be eligible for this or not. I've known several churches who've taken advantage of this and saved them a lot of money. So we will send you this PowerPoint at the end of the presentation, so you do not need to write down this long, silly link. But it will be on this slide, which is, I don't know, maybe 13 or 14 slides in. So is that good, Alan? We got any more?
Well, we just had one come in. Is it compatible with Mac and Apple OS?
Yes. Yeah, we support Safari on the Mac, and Chrome works as well. So it's a web application, so you know it works fine. And we have, needless to say, there's lots of churches that have lots of Apple products. So the answer to that question is yes. Security, a lot of people ask about security at some point during a presentation. So just real quick, there's a couple slides in here that you can have that talk about the different levels of security. You have create, read, write, you know, etc. And you can set up security by every record type, contributions, people, you name it. And then there's also a hierarchy that you set up. So if you're a multi-location church, you can set up locations and then even go down to sub-locations or ministries, whatever you want to do. So and then you set up roles, and then you assign people to those roles, or you can also do teams. So usually you'll assign people to teams that then have access to these roles. So it's definitely, I have not seen a situation where security is not flexible enough to accommodate people's requirements yet. So threw those in there as due to the question comes up a lot. We might move them later in the presentation for next time. Anyways, dashboards are next.
You know, George, we have a couple other quick questions that have come in before we jump into dashboards.
Sure, go ahead.
So the first question that has come in since our last little question is, can you search a task for keywords?
Yes.
And then there's a question that has come in regarding ownership of data, whether or not you would own the data or whether someone else owns the data.
Yeah, it's your data. There's two ways you can purchase ProclaimCRM. We can host it for you, and we host it on Microsoft Azure, which is Microsoft's cloud hosting platform. But it's your data at any point in time. You can say, give us a copy of the database, and we'll pull a copy of the Microsoft SQL Server database and send it to you. Or you can just export all your data using Proclaim itself at any time. Now, the question about searching for tasks, in just a little bit I'm going to show you how we do queries. And I will, Alan, if I forget, have me make sure I do a query on a activity, and I'll do a query of activity of task type. So
I will certainly try to remember that. And then we've had another question come in regarding, can you transfer information from one system to ProclaimCRM? Specifically, this church uses Shelby.
Yep, been there, done that. Most of the big, well-known systems we've converted from. When we do conversions, it's either, sometimes we just connect straight to the database if it's a popular one. We've seen it so many times that, you know, we just know how to pull the data out on our own. But if not, or you want to do it, we just give you a set of spreadsheet templates that you populate, you know, with your people records and whatnot, and then just import all those. So again, the answer to that would be yes.
All right. And then let me get to the next one.
We good, Alan?
Do you sell data / mailing lists?
No, we do not. Because we're a software company, not a marketing list provider. So, all right, dashboards. So you can create an unlimited number of custom dashboards in ProclaimCRM. They're real-time, drill down to the source data. Aside from looking real pretty, they're live and useful. So let's take a look. at a dashboard. So we click on dashboards, and you can set any screen to be your home screen. I have mine when I log into Proclaim to be my attendance dashboard, but you could have it be a list of people. You could have it be a different dashboard. So you can do line charts, pie charts, bar graphs. Here is a contributions dashboard, showing, trend over time, bar chart of totals by year. Here's a people dashboard. So I'll show you some things here. So here's a funnel. If you remember that membership status field we looked at, so you can see, we had these different values. Well, those are all the people in my database presented in a graphical format. So you can do a couple of things here. I can make it bigger, copy it out, or you can hit this button, view the records that are used to generate the chart. So when we do that, it puts the graphic over on the right. Here's all the people, all 346. But if I click on this section, this is going to be all my first-time visitors. I can do lots of different things here. We don't just integrate with Outlook, but we also integrate with Excel. So you'll see this export to Excel. Anytime there's a list, this button's active. And you can do dynamically linked worksheets and re-import data, but for now I'll just show you a simple export. And there's my list of people, and I can do whatever I want with that. You can also continue to drill down. And some other things I didn't show you earlier, but I could send an email straight from here. I could put them on a marketing list if I wanted to do a specific campaign. This lets me, like if I wanted to schedule a phone call to these 28 people, I wouldn't want to schedule 28 phone calls. I'd add them to a marketing list and then assign a phone call to the marketing list, which would then schedule a phone call for 28 people. So there's some neat tools to help your productivity there. But you can keep drilling down. So let's say I just want to call all the people who live in my city. So let's pick city and go another level. So now I have a chart of membership, first-time visitors by city. So here, boom, there's the first-time visitors in Charlotte. So these dashboards, dashboard components, you can drill down. It's pretty powerful. Now, let's say I want to make a new dashboard. You just hit the New button, pick a layout, and we'll call this Demo 0326. And here you just, I want to add a chart, or you can add a list. You can add other things, web resources. That's beyond really what we can talk about today, but this lets you do custom dashboard components. So you add a chart. We can add people. You pick a filter, and then you pick a chart type. So we'll do people by city. And there it is. If I want to add a list, let's do people. With list, you only have two things to add. And save and close, and I've made a dashboard. If this thing is great, I can share it with other people. If I'm a system administrator, I can make dashboards and push them to people. So lots of different things you can do. Now, making those chart components that you selected from, so anytime you're on a list view, you can just click on charts, say new chart. This is how you make them. It's like a dumbed down version of Excel charting. So you pick your x-axis, your y-axis, and your chart type. This lets you do your top, bottom rules and save it. So then you can reuse your chart with a different filter. So it's all about filters, and like here, go back to people regularly. Let's refresh that. So you can open up the chart pane here and look at the existing listing chart. So, there's all these different ones you can use. So here, people by city, you can see here they are. But this is active people. If I change this view, so people greater than 55, now the chart has different, there's only 12, 10, et cetera. So everything, you got charts to display, you have filters to control what is displayed. So that's dashboards. Any questions, comments?
A couple of questions have come in. Some good thinking here by our attendees here. We have one, can we integrate a list into an automated phone calling system?
We don't have an out-of-the-box integration with a like a phone tree type system right now. We have there's a couple of ways you could do that. You could create lists. You can create a spreadsheet report that's automatically refreshed without even having to go back into Proclaim. Or we also have APIs. So we have web services for every record type. So there's multiple ways that we could get data to a phone dialer system, as so long as the phone dialer system had some import. And I can't imagine one that wouldn't have some type of import capability, even a manual import or an API where we could just write a little program. So the answer to the question, it's not out of the box, but it is doable. What's the other question, Alan?
The other question is, can we import accounting data from QuickBooks?
It depends on what it is. We generally don't import accounting data. We export accounting data because ProclaimCRM records contributions and events, and those are the revenue figures that we typically send to an accounting system. Alan, maybe you can text them back and ask for some specific examples of accounting data. I mean, like, we don't have an AP invoice record type in Proclaim, so I mean, obviously that's not going to get imported. So see if you can get some more information on that. Maybe I can answer the question better.
I certainly will.
Anything else?
No, let's keep moving.
All right, so dashboards, that's great. How do we get all those filters done? Well, we did queries. This is where I'm going to search for tasks. So you can search or filter for any field in the system, including custom fields. I haven't shown you how to do custom fields yet, but you're going to get to see that in about 5 minutes. So let's just dive in and do it. So here's people. We can close our little inline visualization and click on Advanced Find. This is our query tool. So what this does, I mean, this is active people. It's a filter. What makes up that filter? Well, the record equals active, and we're not going to include anonymous donor, which is our, that's the record used for anonymous giving on our web portal. Now, let's say we want to change it. You just click Details, and you can filter on any field in the database. So let's say I wanted to look for everyone who lived in Charlotte. There's my results. So there's 62 people who live in Charlotte. Real easy to do. Now, you can also filter by related record types. So these are all the fields that are on the person form. But if we scroll down, you'll see related. So let's say I wanted to search for all people who had contributed to a specific fund. Now, nowhere on the person record is that information, but there are contribution records that have the person name and the fund name. So if we go down to contributions, and you can see it indents it a little bit, and then on here, I could search for funds. So basically what this will do is let me search for people who contributed to the fish fry, and I probably won't have any, that live in, so people who live in Charlotte, and then people who have a contribution associated with them where the fund they donated to was the fish fry. So you can do really complex things here. Like I had someone go to me and said, George, I need to be able to send an email to all of the parents who have children who are registered for a specific event on this day. So what we did is we set up a query that returned the parent, and we edited the columns to include the email address. And the parent would be in a family and have a relationship that we looked at, the connection type, as a child. And then that child didn't have a contribution, but they had a registration record for an event, and that's how it turned back. So it's a very powerful query tool. And then you can save these things. Let's get rid of this phase. Let me show you how you do the columns too. So here you can see here like active people, first name, last name. Well, you can also, like here, birthdays. See how all those columns changed? You can set up, custom columns too. You can set up as many of these as you want. So if you want to change columns, like let's say I was going to do a mail merge. I want to export this stuff to Excel. So we'll get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. Get rid of that. And we add columns. We can add city, state, street. And zip. And we'll just move that over a little bit, and we'll say OK. And you can preview. This is nice. You can preview results without saving it. So I'd be like, this looks great, but I want to make that street column wider. So we go back to Advanced Find, edit the columns, and street. Let's change the properties and make that guy a little wider. We'll preview it. And there it is. So I have my new view. So let's go ahead and save that. And we'll call this Demo 0326-1. And now, when we go back here, we'll just refresh. And you'll see that I need to clean up my list of views from all the demos. 0326-1, and there's that one we just made. I can export it to Excel or whatnot. So that's queries. Now, queries are great and all, but you can also, they don't subtotal or total. So if you want to do that, you do a report. So we have a built-in reporting wizard. And basically, it's a lot like the first few steps are just like doing queries, but then you'll have a second step where you can do groupings and sort orders, and you can actually do sort orders in the queries too. But groupings and subtotals, groupings which will then do subtotals and totals. And if you have some IT staff or volunteers, you can actually write Microsoft SQL Reporting Services reports and just upload those to ProclaimCRM and use those. So the built-in reporting wizard for you technical folks out there creates the reports in something called Fetch XML. And the SQL Reporting Services reports, well, that's just the reporting tool included with Microsoft SQL Server. Now, reports, SRS, as it's called in short, you can do some neat inline formatting and advanced calculations. And you can add reports to any menu. You see those little report buttons all throughout. Most screens have these, so you can just set a whole bunch of custom reports for easy access, or generate the whole big report menu there. Now, some examples. This is just for your benefit when you see it later, but here's a report that we ship with the system. Pattern change report. So this highlights calculations and coloring and all kind of stuff. So in my demo database, everybody gives once a month. So the average giving frequency is 30 days. So that's calculated. And I make my sample data through the end of the year. So I actually ran this back in 2012 sometime. And what it does is it looks at the day allowed deviation. We put 14. So when it hits 45 days, they're going to get highlighted in red as not having given. The purpose of this is to identify people who might have stopped attending. They stopped contributing. They probably stopped attending. You can reach out to them, and maybe they're not a good fit for your church, or maybe they're looking for something that they're not providing, or maybe it's who knows what it is. Anyways, it's kind of a red flag to call them. We also have another. The last three columns look at the average giving amount compared to the last gift and flag people who had a big deviation. So lots of things you can do there to push information to you so you can take action before it's too late. This fund performance report, start date, end date, pledge versus actual, percent remaining. If you're behind schedule, it'd be in red. Banks like this kind of information. So queries, reports. Alan, we got any questions, comments?
Well, we've had a few questions come in. One of them I know we'll get to later. It's regarding accessing stuff via smartphone. And then there's some other questions that have come in, though, related to attendance. Any alternative to entering attendance records for each person manually? Wondering maybe if we use barcodes or something like that. And then inputting attendance off-site for small groups and things like that. So I know we'll dive into some of that in the portal, but I didn't know if you wanted to get into any attendance details, what we can do there.
Okay, I tell you what, we'll do workflows and then get into the attendance. Just real quick, let me count the ways we can enter attendance now. We actually just rolled out even a new attendance feature. You can enter them manually, but nobody does that because that takes forever. We have a check-in application that creates attendance records. The member portal, which we haven't looked at yet, but we will in just a little bit, lets group leaders take attendance records, so they can do that off-site. They can do it from their tablet. They can do it from a computer. We also have a new quick entry attendance grid that works with for church staff to enter quickly. Smaller to medium churches, we found they want to do actual service attendance, so they just go through and pass around a list and check off who was there, and then they want to enter it quickly into the system. So there are there's probably 4 or 5 different ways to get attendance into the system. But let's take a quick look at workflows that I talked about earlier. Workflows let you do things automatic or on demand. And actually, Alan, you did not remind me to do a query on tasks, and I forgot too. So
my fault. I was too busy answering questions.
I know. I'm just teasing. So real quick, activities. Here's a list of activities. And if you want to query for a task by a keyword, the first thing you'll do is you want to query the activity type. So you do a query where you select the activity type, and if you wanted to query a task, you pick task and say OK. And then you just go on to select whatever other fields you want. It could be in the description, the title, related records. I mean, you name it. So I mean, it's that easy. And you basically can, if the data is in the database related to a task, you can query tasks look by that piece of data. So, you know, if there was a specific example you want to do in the notes, we'll either talk or show you how to do that specific example. So now workflows. Workflows are automatic or on demand, and they let you basically do things like create records, send emails, update fields, and they trigger off basically any change in the database. They're great for assimilation, huge productivity enhancements. So let's just take a look at one real quick. So we'll go to processes. We'll go to settings. Actually, okay, process. I'm going to do a quick. This is brand new. This was rolled out last week, this enter attendance. So you pick a date, and then all the events for that date will show up. And you can just say Brad. Okay, there's Brad. And it starts searching, so Jill. You know, we can do J.I. again. There's Jim. And oops, I didn't mean to do Jim Cooper, so you can just uncheck it. But the whole purpose of this is to make it easier, real easy to enter attendance fast. So that's brand new. I don't have it worked in my standard presentation, but since I went there, I thought I'd show it real quick. And we will be recording this, so you can always go back and replay stuff. Processes. So back to workflow. Let's take a look at this assimilation one. And again, might look a little scary or drab at first, but this is really a pretty simple screen. So you name the workflow. An on-demand process is like it's like a macro. So this is for the person records, and it's going to run when a record is created or when a field is changed. And here, this is where I selected the membership status field. So the way these workflows work, basically the stuff in white are just comments, so you remember what you did. And you just a bunch of if-then statements. So you do if check conditions, then you do this stuff. You know, create records, send emails. So when it says create record, you can see here we create a record, but we're creating an email, we're creating a phone call. Everything's a record type. So what we did is I said add a check condition, and then it walked me through a little wizard where I picked the person record and I picked the membership status, and then I pick a value of first-time visitor. So if this, then do these two things. So this is an if-then-then statement. And you just set these things up. It's like doing a template, you know. Let's get rid of that. And that would add the field. So, oh, you got to hit the OK button, my bad. And that would add those. Now, you can also do wait stages. So if after 7 days you know, the phone call hasn't been made. You know, send the nastygram. So very powerful. You could create membership, small group membership records. Like I had a church that, so when person record is entered, if, you know, age is teenager, you know, greater than 12, less than 20, assign them to the teen group. You know, greater than 19 and female, assign them to the women's group. You know, save a whole bunch of time. They had someone spend, you know, hours and hours and hours each week just manually creating group sign-up records. Now they just automated all of that. So that's workflows. Dialogues are like workflow 2.0. Oh, this is what that email looks like. So this, you know, it sends an email, you know, says, hey, make the call, links back into Proclaim. So dialogues do everything that workflows do, but they also add scripted Q&A. So for example, you can say, hey, thanks for calling. Do you have some time? Yes, no. If no, we'll reschedule. If yes, it answers a bunch of questions and stores all that information in the database. So if we go back, let's go to Proclaim, let's go to People, and let's go to Bradley, and let's go to Activities. And let's just open up one of these many phone calls that we have. So, you know, it's like, oh, woe is me, I don't know what to say on the phone. Well, with this dialogue, I'm going to know what to say because it's going to hold my hand. So up here, it say, this is what you say in the blue. You can do tips on the left. You can, here's the question. So do you have a few minutes? Add text down here, just free-form notes. If you say no, it'll reschedule the phone call. So you can pick a new date and time. It'll close the existing phone call and reschedule a new one. But if we say yes, it'll run through, you know, how'd you hear about us? Alan Camp. You know, do you currently attend a church? Yes, I do. You know, what church do you attend? Church of Huntersville, which is one of our suburbs here in Charlotte. Would you like to attend a first-time visitor orientation session? Now, this is really neat because what this does is it goes through and looks at the next 8 or next 2 months worth of visitor orientation sessions and pops up a list and, yeah, I'd like to go on the 13th. So, boom, it'll schedule them. It'll send out an email confirming their registration, all kind of good stuff, and next, finish. Now, if you look at the dialogue session, you can see you get a whole record of everything that happened. So, I mean, there's lots of power here. I'm flying through some of this stuff, but I just want to give you a kind of overview of all the different capabilities. So that's workflows and dialogues. Questions, Alan?
There were some questions that had come in regarding, you know, contribution statements and pledge contribution tracking, things of that nature. But I know we're going to get into some of that with the.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. So usually right now I do a customization and show you how that looks, but most of the questions are geared towards some of the later stuff. So I'm just going to talk about this slide, then move on. So ProclaimCRM customization, you can add an unlimited number of fields, record types, forms. It's real easy to do. There's a drag and drop interface. We'll teach you how to do it so you don't have to call us. And you could literally make your own modules. It's very, very powerful. On the recordings on the YouTube channel, the last webinar, I spent a lot of time going through the customizations. But I'm going to flip forward. So pledges and funds, contributions, contribution statements. So basically, you can set up an unlimited number of funds. We support multi-location. There's parent funds. I'm going to go ahead and log into the portal as well. Now, this member portal, you can skin this. So using CSS, you can change the color, the graphics, basically everything about the way it looks. So people can contribute online. They can also view their contribution statement online. There's one-time, there's recurring contributions, warnings of things that are about to expire. Now, this contribution statement, you know, it's going to default. You can run it for yourself, or you can run it for your whole family. Or in my demo this morning, people wanted to remove the family thing, so you can set that up too. But if you view this, this is online. You can also run the same thing in Proclaim, except it's more prettied up to print, you know, in mail. But it's the same information. So, you know, a history of all the contributions, fund summary, pledge summary. Sometimes people turn off these summaries, and then the actual contribution statement has your little disclaimer, no goods or services received information down there. You can do a parent-child hierarchy with the funds too. So for example here, like let's say I'm going to contribute to, and if you don't have locations, then you won't see that. But watch me pick mission trips. Now I have sub-funds. So you can do a nest and keep your funds simple. You can tick a box in Proclaim to show what funds show up here or not. We have a check scanning application that helps you enter stuff faster. You know, you can import from other sources as well. It stores the check images. You can do splits. You can do gifts in kind. All type of good stuff. We actually have an email process too, so instead of printing, you can actually email if you want. Not everybody wants to. So back to attendance. So attendance, there was, here's, look at that. Hello, Bradley, you've been registered for new member orientation. A real email would have directions and all kind of other stuff, but since this is demo world, that's what it looks like. So with attendance records, so when you have an event, here's an event. So there's lots of things with events. Let's just open up well, people don't register for Bible study. They just go because it's a small group. But you have registration records, and that would show up here. And then you have attendance records, which show up here. And this is what an attendance record looks like. So here's the name, the group name, the date. Now, you can get those by manually entering. I could do a enter one like this, but like I said, that takes longer. I showed you the quick attendance entry just a moment ago. Small group leaders can enter attendance through the portal, so they have some small group tools. Bradley's the leader of Bible study, so he can do, you know, add members, remove members, email, text them, or he can record meeting attendance. So you pick the date, you click next, and he just checks off who was there and saves it, and that will create a attendance record for a Bible study group meeting that you can then report on. In fact, if you were going to make a dashboard of it, this is what it might look like. So here's a dash, not that one, that one. I got to delete that one. So here's, you know, people by date. We can drill down on this. And let's do last 1 month. So there we are. So here were the 4 people who were not here on 3/19. Boom, there we are. Or here's the 17 people who attended. So I mean, those attendance. So we covered. You can get a check-in. We haven't hit check-in. Now, check-in runs on iPads, and it looks like this. There's an iPad stand. And you basically scan a key tag in front of the iPad. It uses the front camera. It'll pull up the people. They can check in. It'll print labels, and that creates attendance records as well. And and I have a whole bunch of slides about exactly what the capabilities are here. There's a standard mode, and then there is also a assisted mode, which is designed for church staff, where, you know, if you want to have a first-time visitor workstation where they can add new people, first-time guests, stuff like that. Alan, one of your questions was about Mobile Express.
Just a question regarding whether you could search for people on a smartphone, and then whether you could add notes to their record.
Okay, yes and no. So you can search for people on a smartphone. Basically, every record type is available on a smartphone. It just renders on a mobile form, so you can add stuff here left and right. Now, so I click on people. Here's my list of people. That button there says search, so I could type some text that's covered up. So I could type some text in and then search. I can edit Bradley's record. You can do you can't do activities through the phone, but you can do most everything else. So we'll probably have another kind of a simple app that doesn't do everything, but lets you do some basic people lookup stuff too. This is designed for church staff. So, we'd have to find out exactly what you want. We could do a whole lot through the mobile form, but I don't want to say we can do everything in the world. So, Alan, other questions?
I think we pretty much covered everything pretty well. The only thing that I would think we want to touch on a little bit is, since we've already dealt with events and attendance, well, you're already on the slide, volunteer management.
Yeah, that's the thing we haven't talked about yet. So, good call. Great minds. What, Alan? So volunteer management. So with an event, you can actually associate people with skills. So like here on the portal, you go to profile. Here is talents or interests. It's being updated to be called skills because skills is a shorter word. So this is custom to you, these groupings. So you assign people to stuff. Actually, you can turn things on or off in the portal real easy too. Like I hid the directory. So now if we refresh, we actually have this nice looking online directory too that people can search, with pictures. And you can turn this on, turn this off. People can hide information as well based on their profile. But let's go to an event. So we'll pick our Bible study event. Actually, let me pick another one. I used that one this morning. And if you do scheduling, this brings up the, what you do is you do a position, and you pick what type of person you want. So let's say I needed an usher, and this is a skill level, so you can rank people. So the usher doesn't need to be very good. He can be a rank 1. Let's say we need 5. And then what this will do, if I hit the Invite Individuals button, it goes in the database and looks for people with that skill and that availability, and I can invite them all. So we say invite. And then what they'll get is they'll get an email that says, are you available to volunteer? You can confirm or decline. They can add it to their calendar. And if they accept, it'll do that automatically. And I'm doing it manually here because, it's a demo. And so you can see here I got 1 declined, 1 accepted, need 4 more. There's 10 people potentially out there. You can do as many positions as you want for an event. You can do team scheduling where you do A/B schedule. You set up teams. It's good for recurring events. And you can do open registration where you don't need to sign up. You just show up and check in because volunteer system is integrated with the check-in system as well. So lots of different things that we can do there. So that's volunteering. You can then see the event positions you have for that. So we have musical. That was the old one. Then we have the usher, which is the one we just created, or music we just created as well. And then here you can see the volunteers and the status. So there's lots of reporting that you can do on all of this as well. So Alan, do we have any other questions?
Yes, George, we just had one come in. Is there facilities management available, such as room and resource?
Yeah, that's a great question. That is the one area that we really don't have a module for yet. We got about everything else that a church might be looking for. What our customers do today, there's solutions like from Cool Solutions Group. They have a web-based solution that it's really easy to use and does facility scheduling. We do have that on our calendar, but it's probably not going to be till 2015 till we roll something out. It's not something you can throw together. There's lots of complexities to it. But we're going to continue building out some of the other modules or adding some more functionality there, particularly around check-in and volunteer management and the the payment processing. Those are getting a lot of work right now, as well as some additional small group tools. So great question. I just want to be upfront. I mean, if that was your #1 requirement, we might not be a good fit because that's our weakest area. Everything else we're great at.
So a couple of more additional questions that have come in, George.
Yeah.
Can members input their own profile information, such as time available, various skills and skill level?
They can input their skills. So far, our clients have asked us that they don't let people self-rate because, you know, the classic example, everyone thinks they're a great singer when they're not. So right now, it's church staff that do the rating. Time availability, there's going to be some enhancements to that coming throughout the year where they can update their schedule. But right now, they can enter what skills they do have.
All right. And then some questions just regarding online or the website integration, and then how we would work with an online giving website.
So were there specific questions, or was that the question?
Well, it's literally the question is online website integration, and then another question, giving website.
Okay, so with online website integration, as I mentioned, everything in ProclaimCRM has something called a web service. That's our API. And basically, that allows you to do program-to-program automated integrations. We use those tools all the time, like doing a project right now that's church uses something called Jot Forms, where they have all these forms built out. They had like 150 of them built. That it's just an online form builder where people go enter data, and then it spits out a ASCII file or a text file that we could, or CSV, that we just import into ProclaimCRM. So there's also manual import-export capabilities or program capabilities. So as long as the other guys or other site has a API or import-export capability, we can talk to it. I mean, when you add custom fields to ProclaimCRM, our API, our web service API is automatically updated. So, I mean, when I say we can integrate with everything in Proclaim, it's no joke there. It's for real. Online giving websites. So I'm assuming you're talking about third-party giving websites. We have, we're about done with an integration with SecureGive. We have a lot of customers who have SecureGive kiosks, and they've asked us to do an automated integration. So we're testing that right now. And you know, SecureGive does the kiosk. They also have an online giving website. You can, I mean, you get with Proclaim, you also get an online giving website, so you can use that. And again, it boils down to, you know, most online giving websites have some type of file that can be imported into Proclaim. That's the easy, you know, takes 5 minutes to set that up. But we also, if they have an API, we could, you know, custom write a integration with pretty much anything. Alan, do we have any other questions?
Yeah, we've had one other one come in.
Okay.
And we, excuse me. Hold on one second, I just went to the wrong question. Can we integrate, well, it's basically an online giving website with Proclaim. So you're answering, you kind of answered this anyway, how we would go about this.
Yeah, the answer is yes, and it's a definite yes. Anything else, Alan?
That's it at the moment.
Okay. There's some other slides in here. You know, most jobs take 60 to 90 days. You know, we have a full team of various different peoples, you know, weekly meetings. You know, here's a typical implementation plan with the different phases. And here's our website. Alan, remind me to update this. Our website, we launched a new one 2 weeks ago. So it looks different. It looks much better. And but the URL is still the same. And we have a YouTube channel where we post various demo videos and webinars. I'll probably post this one because there's a lot of good questions and some information not contained in some of the other webinars. So if you want to contact us, you know, here's our phone number, here's our email, it's our website, you know, and I'll be around for a few more minutes if anyone else has any other questions. Otherwise, greatly appreciate everyone's time this afternoon. If we can ever be of service, you know, let us know. And Alan, we got any more questions?
Oh, somebody just asking about pricing, which we can certainly discuss that offline.
Yeah, I mean, just general rule of thumb, ProclaimCRM has two user types, power users and regular users. Power users are $50 a user a month. Regular users are $30 per user per month. 5-user minimum, and implementation costs generally, you know, probably at least 3 days of consulting services at $1,400 a day, or usually about $4,200 to get started on that. So, like I said, I don't think I said, but our best fit is kind of that medium to large and mega space. If you're a small church, like 100 or less, honestly, we're usually overkill. From 100 to 500 is that gray area where, depending, you might be a complex, smaller church, or that's where it's a little gray. So, any other questions, comments?
That seems to be it for the moment.
All right. Well, again, everybody, thank you for your time. Have a fantastic day, and I will be putting this up on YouTube probably by about 5 o'clock. So take care. Bye-bye.